There's what I wish, and then there's the reality too. I wish it was about like people really cared about sustainable, well-produced bags that created an impact. Usually it's the price. So they might have come based on the style or the price first, but they keep coming back for the impact.
Great wealth demands great wisdom. Great power demands great care. This is Principles of Benevolence. Today, I'm having a conversation with Brittany Bentley, co-founder and creative director of Parker Clay with her husband Ian. Parker Clay is Ethiopia's largest exporter of finished leather goods, a certified B Corp, and a company whose entire mission is to end prostitution in Ethiopia by proving that providing jobs is better than doing charity. Brittany and her husband Ian have created a life between Addis Ababa and Santa Barbara, adopted 2 daughters, and built a luxury brand from scratch that now employs 200 people, nearly half of whom have never had a job before walking through their doors. In 2024, the U.S. Department of State selected Parker Clay as its award winner for corporate excellence out of every nominated company in the world. Today, Brittany takes us inside the origin story, the workforce, the marriage, and the mission. This one is going to stay with you.
Thanks for having me.
So we're talking about Parker Clay, your leather brand. And when you started the brand, you had already had your sons, Parker and Clay, who the brand is named after. But I know that you traveled to Ethiopia and had a transformational trip. What made you decide to pursue the adoption route? Because I believe that's why you traveled to Ethiopia. And why did you decide to do so internationally?
The company's name is Parker Clay, and the reason why I was kind of done having kids, and then we were looking at it again, was just looking at my kids, Parker and Clay, and wanting to do anything for your children, wanting to, if they were in harm's way at all, or if something happened to me, who would take care of them? My husband, who would take care of them if something happened to us? If we had financial needs and couldn't care for our children, who would step in and provide for them? So just the reality of that after having kids was a lot deeper, of a pain that I felt personally, and really saw the amount of children all over the world and really wasn't looking at borders. There's a lot to culture and keeping the culture for that child and their identity. That is very important. But at the same time, I also did not see it as a barrier to care for a child that, needs a family to take care of them. So that's really how we first got into starting the process. And it was about a year wait till we received a match with our daughter.
And walk us through the first trip that you took to Ethiopia. What did you see there, and how did that change everything for you?
Yeah, so we first went, I think it was May of 2011 to meet our daughter. And it's a 2-trip process. So first trip, you go and you handle all of the Ethiopian law process. And then you make a second trip a month later to handle the U.S. law process and the passport visa process. And so the first trip we went there, we met her. We couldn't take her out of the orphanage, but we got to meet her and spend time with her, do that Ethiopian law process. And then we did something that most families don't do. We left the city, the capital of Addis Ababa, where she was, and we traveled 4 hours south to the town that she was from and where her story started. And really, we have no information on our daughter except for like a few contacts of people. And, we went around the goal was really just to see the countryside, see the land where she was from, take pictures so that we can show her one day. We had, besides the second trip, we had no idea or just absolutely no concept that we'd ever be able to, first of all, afford to go back to Ethiopia, let alone just be able to take her back at any time and see the countryside. So we were trying to, buy her dresses, buy her things from her city to show them to her. And it was just like a series of events that happened in her town that were incredibly impactful. And we met a woman that cared for her when she was just a tiny infant, that she really gave up everything. She did not eat for 3 days just to afford milk to give to our daughter. She just constantly prayed over our daughter every second, even after she left to a larger orphanage in the capital city. She was thinking and was praying for our daughter. And then all of a sudden one day we just show up at her house and her mind was blown. And just that realization, meeting her face to face, and although she's not biological family, it was seeing someone that had sacrificed everything for someone else that had
Mhm.
nothing, but gave the like little she had to care for our daughter. And it was just such a huge example for us. And um she's someone that still to this day, she is family to us. We see her almost every year. We communicate with her and her family. So it's a very special relationship.
And after that trip, you and your husband felt that there was more to do. You were kind of convicted that you wanted to help women and girls in
Yeah.
Ethiopia. But you had great jobs here in the US. When you decided to move to Ethiopia a year later, what was the plan? Like, were you planning to work in nonprofits? Did you go there envisioning that you were going to build something entrepreneurial? What did it look like?
Yeah, it really was a slow transition. There was never a time, even to this day, I can't think about a time where we're like, let's move to Ethiopia. We actually put up a massive, like probably the largest size whiteboard you can buy in our living room. We took down our TV, we put it up, and we were like, let's strategize how we can possibly help. Our lives just did not feel the same coming back. My husband was in real estate. I'm a graphic designer. So we're like, okay, we're not in the nonprofit world necessarily right now. I did start an orphan care nonprofit here in the US at that time, and I was helping fundraise for families adopting. But it was a bit foreign to us. And so we were thinking, okay, how can we create opportunities for these women? Because a lot of the women that we had spoken to initially and the moms, it was very much maybe this is my fifth child. My husband had passed away or was killed, and I cannot take care of this child. A woman was in danger in some capacity. She wasn't able to provide for herself, or she was sent from the countryside into the capital of Addis to go be educated by her aunt and uncle. And then she was abused there and ran away, and then had to get into prostitution as a form of like the only way to have money. And so we're like, okay, there's a real opportunity to create a little bit more stability specifically for moms, because we were looking at I'm sure you've heard of like the analogy of a river, and you can't sort of just keep saving children out of the river that are floating down. You need to go to the source, and see where the problem lies. And, it's creating job opportunities is not going to solve everything, but it was a huge aspect of starting at the source, creating those opportunities for moms so they can care for their children. So that's how we saw it. Initially, we were just looking at, can we help with NGOs or nonprofits that are here in the US that are doing good work? And then we were contacted by, through a friend, a nonprofit in Ethiopia, Alilta Women at Risk. And they had been at the time around for 20 years. Ethiopian ran nonprofit, very successful in their transformation. 90% of the women stayed out of prostitution or the trafficking situations and were able to move on to a more productive lifestyle that helped them support their family. So they had a for-profit wing. There was an opportunity within the government for a nonprofit to have a store or an opportunity to raise money for the people they were supporting. And so this nonprofit had started a few things. They had a bakery before that was unsuccessful. They're making sambosas, which is like a snack. And then they started a weaving program, and that looked successful from the outside. But really, they were losing money on every order. They had some U.S. clients, some European clients that were purchasing scarves and blankets for them. And there was challenges within describing the colors, because there's just like sometimes something's called celadon, and it's like, what is celadon? There might be a versus like a blue green, or just how the pricing is written up. I mean, they just needed to be profitable to continue getting more women through the training program. And so that's the first opportunity. We're like, okay, that's something we can do to help improve and make their business successful in order to get more women through the program.
It's interesting you say that because around that time, it was 2014 for me, I spent some time in Tanzania
Oh my gosh.
working with Land O'Lakes. They had their foundation had given all these women founders like $5,000 grants, and I came in to build an incubation program to help them figure out they had similar challenges of like, oh, you're not
Yeah.
factoring in the cost of like traveling to the market and like, you need to charge more money to cover
Yeah,
your costs and actually make a profit. So
exactly.
I definitely can understand the draw to East Africa. I did not want to leave. My mom had to come get me by the end of that summer.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more besides just the need that draws you in, of course. I mean, we saw just the most beautiful people. They were, whenever there's a challenge, let's say your car has an issue, you don't get like, can someone help me with my car? There's like instantly 20 people that show up right then and they're like, let us help you. This is a group activity. Everything's kind of like a group activity all in to see how you can be supported. And so that the world's best coffee, amazing food. I mean, we love Ethiopia.
So, how did you guys land on leather goods? It sounds like you got a taste of working at this nonprofit and saw that there was an opportunity to also do some kind of for profit ventures connected to nonprofits. But I'm curious because you definitely have seen the effect of aid and charity, what that could do for women in Ethiopia, but you guys intentionally built a for profit business. What did that trade give
Yeah.
these women that charity could never give them?
Yeah. Nonprofits depend on aid. They depend on generosity. Fast forwarding, we actually have two Ethiopian daughters now. We adopted a second daughter as well, but we really wanted to build something that depended on excellence. We wanted to show that this country where our daughters are from, this beautiful country with so many skills, so many like natural resources, such a beautiful land, that they have beautiful product. They do wonderful work. They are such hard workers. They are incredibly talented. And this is made by them. And so we saw at that time so much aid coming in. Sometimes people were part of multiple nonprofits. And it wasn't just telling the full story. People were wanting work. They wanted employment. And so when we were first hearing, we need more jobs created, like that's the whole reason why Alilta got started in the first place. The Ethiopian founder of that nonprofit was from a wealthy family in Ethiopia. She was well educated and she even could not get a job at the time. And so people around her were like, why aren't these people just working? Why are they being lazy? And she's like, I'm educated. I can't even get a job. And so really like creating more job opportunities. And we saw once we were there that woven goods was more of a men's industry, and hiring women for this, especially women that have come from hard backgrounds, it wasn't the best place to start and can really teach that skill set. It's a large loom. And not only that, it's like after we say did all the training, they likely wouldn't be able to go on and get a job at another location because it is a men's industry. And so we were always looking out for sort of natural resources. Ethiopia is very hard to bring imported items into the country. So you really want something that's going to come from the country and something that can have that stamp of made in Ethiopia on it. And that was really important to us. And so we came across the leather industry after living there for about 2 years. And it was my birthday. We were at a shop and I could never really find anything. The Ethiopian markets, there wasn't much to buy. Lots of spices, that sort of
like
thing.
trinkets.
You could get colored jeans. That was cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I came across a bag and I was like, oh, I really like this bag. And it actually flipped over a label on it when it said made in Ethiopia on the front, and then the backside actually had the guy's telephone number on it. So I called it.
Great marketing.
And yeah, for sure. And it turns out like we found leather is one of the largest, the fifth largest livestock in the world. It's a huge exported item for Ethiopia, but there really wasn't a huge market for exporting finished leather goods finished leather bags. And so we're like, okay, it started out very personal of just like, okay, wait, I want to make this for myself. I want to make this for myself.
Mhm.
Not thinking of it as a business, we were living there. We were like trying to
Yeah.
find ways for us to continue living there for the rest of our lives. And we were just like, okay, let's just create a few bags for ourselves and brought it back to California where we're from on a trip home in Ethiopia. It's rains all summer long. And so it's really nice to try to leave in the summertime because, yeah, it gets kind of nonstop rainy, depressing. And so we went home to the sunshine, showed a few people the bags. They loved them. And we're like, oh, maybe this is something we can do. And let me say one more thing is that it is at the time too where a lot of people were doing paper beads in like Uganda and other parts of Africa. There's paper bead necklaces like wrapped with from magazines. And that was a big way of buy these things and support our nonprofit. We're like, okay, Ethiopia has the most beautiful natural products. They have the most beautiful leather. They have amazing skills. Why are we asking for donations for items that people don't really um, necessarily want to buy or they're going to use long term? We need to create something that is just they buy because they love, and then they hear, hey, this is supporting women that are coming out of trafficking situations, and it is doing that impact work. It's firsthand, but it's secondary to the product because we saw that if you create an excellent, beautiful product, people will continue buy that. They'll tell their friends. They will be supporting the impact work we're doing from the physical item instead of through the stories of the women.
Yeah, and I know when we met up in Santa Barbara a few weeks ago, you were mentioning that um, some of the nonprofits were also trying to get donations in a way that was exploiting some of the women that didn't sit well with you guys. And that was another reason that you didn't like that's not the way that you wanted to raise awareness or money for these women.
Yeah, exactly. We saw for profits and nonprofits telling the stories of women like they're not on the internet. Everybody's on Facebook, everybody's on TikTok, all the things there. And so when you're telling their personal story to try to sell a bag and make people feel like, oh, that's so sad or that's so sweet about her story, I'm going to now buy a bag. We don't want that to be the reason why you buy because we saw these as our family and our friends, the people we work with. And like you would never do that here in a workplace in the US. You would never go tell a personal hard story about the employee sitting next to you. And so why would you do that in another country? So very much like when we started Parker Clay, we're like, we're going to tell their stories, but we're going to tell them from like what the growth at their workplace. We're going to be like, this person just went through this stitching course or this financial literacy course, and they were able to now support their family with this, this, and this. So we're telling their growth story, not just like their pain in order to sell the bag. We saw that so much in Ethiopia, and I'm sure a lot of other countries, but we, yeah, it was very personal to us.
And can you talk about the workforce? I know that you have
Yeah.
over 200 employees now. What are the backgrounds of the workers? Where do you find them? And talk about all the incredible benefits that you provide to them.
Yeah. So we started Parker Clay 12 years ago this month. And so it's grown from handful of employees to now we have 200 employees. 60% of them are women and have a majority of them have come through the nonprofit. We also hire women from the community as well. We have a variety of things. So we have our production team, which is stitchers, assistant stitchers. We have cutters. We have our inventory and storeroom. We have a cafe where we provide free meals for our employees. And our chef, her name is Messy, and she just makes the best meals ever. They're delicious. And so coffee and tea time, of course. We also have a daycare for the children that are basically preschool age for our employees. And that's made a huge difference in especially like the women that we have hired from the nonprofit. A lot of times they don't have the support of family or friends to help take care of their children while they're at work. And so it's providing that consistency. We have financial literacy classes put on by a knot bank, and a knot means mom in Amharic. And so it's a woman-led bank. It's just really cool. And they put on classes and provide loan opportunities for our employees. And besides that, we provide transportation. We're really proud that we didn't lay anyone off during COVID. We actually set up a form of bulk store purchasing. So we created a little store during that time where people were able to buy goods from us so that they didn't have to go to the market and possibly get sick or anything like that. Yeah, we have so many things. We have like our general manager is also a lawyer, so we have lost services that we provide for free pro bono. So
Wow, this sounds like much
yeah,
more than we're getting here in the US. So that's amazing. Can
yeah.
you tell me what is the pay for your workers compared to like the average of what people are being paid in Addis Ababa? And also if there are any personal stories that have stuck with you of how your employment is transforming the lives of these women.
Yeah, so in Ethiopia, there's no official fair living wage. So we do a report of the different communities our employees live on, based on how much it's costing for maybe their kids' schooling, the housing, if they're sharing a house, the cost of food, and we pay based on USD, so to protect against inflation, because that really affects them quite a bit. And so we kind of run a report about creating our own living wage amount and pay a fair living wage. But then again, on top of that, they're having all these extra savings based on childcare, food, meal times at the factory, and transportation, that sort of thing. So beyond just the financial aspect of what we provide, the community has been by far the biggest change within our factory. So it's been absolutely amazing. Women come in not really having anyone to depend on. And so they're used to not needing to tell anyone to show up to work. They're not used to having a contracted job where it's consistent. It's usually, okay, I'm going to work for 2 weeks and then not have a job for 3 months. We have consistent contracted jobs. And so there's a bit of a internship time period where they learn the new environment of showing up for each other and being a community and questioning, hey, why is that person not there? Like, let's check on them. And so that has been huge. The concern, we actually have had 3 of our employees pass away in the past year and a half based on maternity challenges or cancer. And
Wow.
our employees, it's been like a family, just people coming around and supporting all costs around that, and just so much love between them. And one of the stories is one of our employees, Marta. She was actually stitching the bags a little, not so straight, not the best quality. And so it kept being flagged of being like, who's doing this quality work? Like, let's go and check it down to the actual stitcher, and found out it was her. And her production leader, whose name is Roman, she's like, I think something might be wrong with her eyesight. And so Roman talks to our leadership team and goes and said, hey, I think we need to check Marta's eyesight. Our leadership team takes her to the eye doctor. Turns out she's like legally blind. We were able to get her glasses that were like this thick. And we also reached out to Warby Parker, and they were able to provide her some glasses, which was amazing. But that made a huge difference in her. Like, how had she gone 20 years of life being legally blind in one of the biggest cities? It's incredibly dangerous. And just like that, her production team was able to reach around and like see that need and do something about it, has been really amazing.
And you mentioned that a lot of the women come through the nonprofit. Do you mean the
Mhm.
nonprofit that you worked out at when you first started there?
But we continue to partner with them ever since. And so after, they continued to do the weaving. That kind of narrowed down just because, scarves were also like big business in 2016. And then it just was not as popular for a while after that. maybe they'll come back. But, we're like, "Hey, leather never runs out of style. Like full
Yeah.
grain, this is a byproduct of the meat industry. It's like great quality. It's not going to go out of style. We can feel confident that we can continue the work and support jobs this way. And so we continue to, we don't say, hey, you have to come work for Parker Clay after you finish with the rehabilitation. But the program they did offer was 1 year long at Alilta. So it was 6 months of rehabilitation, 6 months of job training. We did take on the last 6 months aspect of that nonprofit into our for-profit. And so the women, when they are finished with that, they can choose, training at a restaurant, they can choose beauty salons, or they can work with us. Majority have always worked with us. And so we have a team of past employees, a few of them that have come from Alilta and now work with us and understand our program, that go back to the nonprofit and meet with them before they come work with us, and kind of, here, this is what's going on. This is what we do. So they're aware. That's important. Side note, we don't differentiate the employees that come from the nonprofit versus the women that come from the community. No one knows anyone's background story. So that's important too. There's no
Oh,
like,
that's awesome.
hey, you didn't come in with an education or, anything like that. Everybody's equal in that aspect. But yeah, when they choose to come, we have that 30-day training period so they can really kind of experience what our workplace is like. And after that, they can freely say, hey, yes, I do want a permanent contracted job, or they can choose something else for themselves. So yeah. And then we have tons of training programs. So we work with the Leather Institute of Ethiopia and provide skills training on a regular basis so they can move up different stitcher levels and get certificates. They can take that certificate to another company and, hey, I've worked at Parker Clay. This is the certificate of the further education I received, and it can help benefit them in the future.
You might not be doing this, but you should consult for companies on how they can better support their workforces, because that's amazing that you're providing all of those benefits.
Yeah, it's been great. With Ethiopia, nothing's ever constant.
Yeah.
Everything's everything's always changing. So it's like I feel like we're always trying to grasp the new rules and the new requirements of what we're doing.
So most businesses fail when people are building in a familiar background. Talk
Mm,
to me about like the barriers that you face trying to set up a very complex logistical business in another country
mm.
with sourcing and production and shipping and labor and starting as an outsider.
Wow. Take a deep breath for that one. It's been a process. It's never gotten any easier. I feel like we have more of an understanding that you cannot remain frustrated. You have to just be like, this is how it is. Is she? It means, okay, is she? This is how it is. When we first started, not many people ask the word why. Why is it this way? Why? Like, that's just not common. You just kind of accept that this is how things are done. You don't challenge it. And so when we came in and be like, why is it this way? Why is it this way? That was just like a little bit disrupting in the environment. And so we kind of had to do a lot of that initially to understand. We started off with an Ethiopian partner. It wasn't a healthy relationship, and he wanted to kind of take over the Ethiopian aspect of the business when he really didn't have that skill set, the finances for it, anything like that. So we really had to, in order to get investment on the US side, we really needed to have the Ethiopian business in our name. So we had to put a large amount of money into a bank in Ethiopia in order to have the business in our name in that country. So that was like our first big step. It's that felt risky and unpredictable for sure, but every aspect of our lives at that point had been pretty unpredictable. Moving to Ethiopia, we adopted a second time. We were learning the language. We were always trying to figure out, one of our daughters has medical issues, trying to figure out, medical challenges. It was just like living in such unpredictable state at all times. And I feel like you kind of have to learn to be okay with that and at peace with that in order to do business well there. And then just a lot of driving. So just, you look at the product at one place, you want to pick it up. Oh, you have to go pay an invoice at another place on the other side of town. And that needs to now be stamped at another place on the other side of town. And so there's initially it started out with a lot of zigzagging. And that's just on the Ethiopian side, getting, everybody's got to stamp something at every level. So papers stamped just across the board. And then we had some friends that were visiting from the LA area, and they were in a kind of successful place in a marketing job. And so kind enough to offer to help build our website initially and ship from their garage. So, our first orders started off by shipping them to his house, him shipping them off from his garage, and, started off really low key like that,
That was
thinking we were
nice.
big time. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it kept growing to the point in 2018, my husband and I were like, okay, we actually need to formalize this process a bit more. We both started getting paid at that point for the business because, we were just not getting paid yet, and creating more structures. I would say the first 4 years, we definitely put any extra money, anything we sold, it went straight back into building out our production side. So not into the marketing side at all. We were completely word of mouth and like very organic, early days of Instagram, but it was all the money was going straight into building our production because we wanted, if we were going to get an order, we wanted to know that we had the confidence to produce it. So building up that side of the business was the first part of business.
And how big were you able to get by just word of mouth? And was the distribution, was it all online? And did you bootstrap it? Had you
Yeah.
raised money yet?
We bootstrapped it for quite a while. We had some angel investment after a few years, but yeah, bootstrapped it. And every year, I would say we felt successful and busy. We felt like we were selling a lot. I think we were selling enough to feel like it was healthy growth. It felt hard but doable. And so I think it wasn't until more of the 2017 era of e-commerce when it felt like the mad rush of Google ads and fast growth that changed the feeling of the business quite a bit.
And you guys also own now PCE Ventures Manufacturing in Ethiopia, like the actual factory, separately
Yeah,
from Parker Clay. What made you
correct.
want to own that manufacturer rather than contract it out? And what does owning that mean for production for the women who work there?
Yeah. In order to own the manufacturing side, we can have full control of the impact. We are a B Corp, and so we had to go through, this is our third time recertifying for our B Corp, and so you have to go through so many questions, evaluations to qualify to become a B Corp, and we're one of the highest rated B Corps. And so in order to create an impact that we felt like we could properly evaluate on a regular basis and see the need and get all of our questions answered, we really needed to own that side of the business. We couldn't have that in someone else's hands. And so we don't own the tannery side of it. And now we're trusting the certifications of that tannery, but it's different when it's a factory and it's your artisans working. And we really needed to know the full process of that.
Okay, so the business grew word of mouth, and then you got
Mhm.
more into online marketing. What does it look like today? And like, what are your largest growth channels for the business?
So it's definitely changed a lot in the past couple of years. It was grow fast at all cost mentality across the board, I think, for e-commerce during those um, 2017 to 2021 years. And it didn't make me personally feel very comfortable because, impact is our number one. But of course, you have to sell bags in order to continue that impact the way we were doing it. And so um, it's just the norm was to grow fast. And it is something that a lot of investors didn't understand at that time. And so it was successful, but there was a lot of loss as well. Moving into 2022 and up, our mentality has been a lot more about profitability. of slower growth and feeling just really good about that. It's been a lot more peaceful. I really recommend it. And so it's not for everybody, of course, but it works the best for our work. It's like creating, when our workers have the stability, when they're able to deeply master their skill set, we're able to create consistent product, consistent work, better word of mouth because people just come back and you have that repeat customer purchasing. And so right now, e-commerce still isn't as strong as it was when we were doing all the Google ads, but our B2B business doing product gifting and promotions has been really successful lately. And we've really enjoyed that and been able to travel all over the world really and put on product activations. So we set up a monogram machine and we'll have a client that'll buy a product and we'll do logos or their employees' initials on the product and being able to chat with others about our impact and pass that impact on to other businesses as well. Because when they purchase from us, they're the ones creating that impact by buying the product. And so we're able to calculate what we call our empowerment hours. So we calculate the employee's time plus a breakdown of what we call basket of goods of, financial literacy and transportation, all those things we offer, break it down per product. And so we can record how many empowerment hours a company is contributing to with their purchase.
That's awesome. And what do you think is the secret sauce for Parker Clay of how you've been able to have an enduring brand that you've built over a decade now, multi-million dollar brand? Are people buying because of the quality of the leather goods? Are they buying because of the sustainability and ethical production? Or is it the mission for the women? Or is it a
Yeah.
combination of all of it? Like when people first hear about your brand, what do you think is drawing them in?
There's what I wish, and then there's the reality too. I wish it was about like people really cared about sustainable, well-produced bags that created an impact. Usually it's the price. We try to keep our prices attainable to my friends and family. We try to keep it to just a consistent, beautiful product that people can use in their daily life. So I think they're purchasing for that purpose. I'm someone that's going to buy one handbag and I'm going to carry it day to night.
Mhm.
That's our customer. But I do think that we keep our customer, they keep purchasing after that based on our impact. And yeah, they might have come based on the style or the price first, but they keep coming back for the impact.
You won a Corporate Excellence Award from the Department of State. Was this award validating and meaningful for you for what you had been building for the decade prior?
Yeah, it was quite a bit of a shock because every embassy in the world that has a US embassy can choose two companies to nominate for this award. And um, the State Department chose Parker Clay as the winner for all the companies in the world that were nominated. And that was huge for us because, I mean, not that we need the recognition, but it feels good. It feels like, wow, like, because we really don't try to push the impact side of it too much. We try to really push the bag styles, the price, because we know that's where people come to purchase. But the mission is just incredibly important for us. It's what keeps us going. And receiving that award was like the sort of the B Corp certification stamp. It was like, you've done it. We see you. Not only that, just having the US Embassy in Ethiopia see us, that was really cool as well because, you just feel like this little tiny company in this big continent of Africa. But yeah, we are the largest exporter of finished leather goods in Ethiopia. And we are trying to not only create that impact, in order to create the impact we really want, we have to get the other companies on board in Ethiopia as well, teach them, hey, you can hire women that don't necessarily have that educational background, create contracted work. They'll be your hardest workers you'll ever have. See this opportunity and see what we're doing. And like, this will be amazing for you also. But yeah, I mean, the US ambassador came to our factory, got to meet our employees. It was really sweet.
That's awesome. And
Yeah.
You and your husband Ian built this together as husband and wife
Yeah.
co-founders and parents to
Mhm.
5 children. So what does that partnership look like? Are you guys arguing over dinner? Do you kind of keep it separate? How do you protect your marriage in this all-consuming mission?
Yeah, well, it has, adjusted over time for sure, and we're definitely maturing in the process of all of this as we get older with the business as well. I would say we talk about it all the time. There's very little boundaries as far as talking about business and when we're home or when we're on a date. I think 'cause we're both so passionate about it. We love it so much. And there's times that are incredibly hard, incredibly frustrating. I won't lie, like, there's times where, like, "I'm never wanna go to Ethiopia again." I'll be very dramatic, and then I'll hear a story the next day of something that happened with one of our employees, and I'm like, "I love Ethiopia." Like, it's just, like it's just hits me, and I just yeah, there's so many beautiful things. So, I would say we keep very different roles. I have a very strong opinion over how things should run in the company, but I have no desire to be the CEO. I'm very passionate about being the product designer, the creative director. Like that's where that's what makes me the most excited. That's what I love coming into work and just being able to tell stories about what's going on at our factory, how people are carrying the bags, what stories they have from carrying the bag and feeling like the pride of carrying the bag and what it's creating. And so yeah, working together has been really fun because it has really allowed us to travel. I mean, never ever would I would say have more than 2 kids and be able to travel the world and be able to take your kids often back to Ethiopia or travel the world. Like those 2 don't, sit in the same sentence to me. And so it's really allowed us to be able to do both of those things. We try to take our whole family back like every other year. We take kids individually every now and then. My husband and I go about 4 times a year. And so we really like being there and being present, even though we have an amazing leadership team there, is so important to just keep that connection and that communication. And it's like we are Parker Clay, the brand, Parker Clay Ethiopia, PCE Ventures Manufacturing, but we're all under one umbrella. We talk to each other every day, and so like why we love the business at the focus is really important. And we're really conflicting about anything in the business. He loves public speaking more so than I do, and so he's often does the TED Talks and that sort of thing. And I love just more of the behind the scenes aspect of it as well.
Well, I'm glad I got you out of your shell on
Yeah.
the show today. Last question. Your stated vision is to end prostitution in Ethiopia, which like is a very huge goal.
Yeah.
What does that path from here to that vision look like? Or how are you thinking about the future of the brand and what you want to build and accomplish with it?
Yeah. I mean, teaching women a skill set that they can have the pride of like, I did that, creates so much like just pride within themselves that is spread with their children and their community. And that, when that woman learns the skill set, they are sharing that. As you know, they're passing on their resources to other women in the community. And so we really see that creating these healthy job opportunities and providing this amazing community within our workplace creates sort of the flow of providing more of that. And we cannot do it alone. Like we are sharing the way we are doing this and the way that we're running our company with all the partners we work with and encourage this also. And so they can hire at-risk women and teach them skill sets within their own industry and not see them as less than because they grew up in the countryside or they've never had contracted work. I mean, we're creating the flow of understanding of, you don't always have to be at this level to stay in this level. Like you can move up, you can create opportunities for you and your family. And I really think that helps women have a lot more pride within their work and it just is shared within the community for sure.
Well, thank you so much for the example that you're creating. I mean, I think you've dropped a lot of gems here. I think the core of it, though, like, is if you're going to create a business, first and foremost, you have to create a quality business that people want to buy.
Yeah.
But from
Yes.
that, you can support people, the people that are building that business with you on a far greater level than just extracting value from them as your workers, you know?
Yes.
So, yeah, thank you for joining me today and all the great insights that you've shared.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Great chatting.
Thanks for listening to Principles of Benevolence. If you like the show, please subscribe, rate, and review on Apple or your favorite platform to listen to podcasts. And as an act of benevolence, share with an ambitious friend who wants to build a life with purpose in mind. You can find me at Principles of Benevolence on IG, LinkedIn, and YouTube, and principlesofbenevolence.com. Until next time.